Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Tider Insider Television. I know they say that the mask ordinance is over and pandemic has diminished, but we're still taking safety to the next level. Rodney Orr is across the studio from me. He's, of course, from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Now, in 2 days, this Thursday night in Cleveland, there will be a bunch of Alabama players on the national stage as they'll try to join other former Crimson Tide greats in the National Football League. The 2021 NFL Draft, as I said, 2 days away, and a large number of former Crimson Tide players are gearing up to hear their names called in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Now, there's been chatter that this could be the year that Alabama ties Miami's record of 6 first-rounders set back in 2004. Crimson Tide has threatened to do it a couple of times, but still the most first-rounders in a single draft for Alabama has been 4. They've yet to get 5, although that's happened several different times. Now, this is the situation heading into the draft. I think you got to look at Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Patrick Surtain as absolute lock first-rounders. So that's 4. I think Najee's going to go in the first round. That would be 5. I believe Christian Barmore's got a shot. That would be 6. And there are some mocks that have Landon Dickerson and even Alex Leatherwood in the first round. Now, that could be as many as 8, but I think they're going to get to 6. We will see beginning Thursday night, but wouldn't that be great? So, all right, here's the guys that are going to be at the draft. There's 13 players invited, and 5 of them are from Alabama. That shows you how the Crimson Tide is going to dominate this draft this year. Quarterback Mac Jones, wide receiver and Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith, wide receiver Jalen Waddle, defensive lineman Christian Barmore, and quarterback Patrick Surtain, all going to be at the draft in Cleveland on Thursday night. Now, Rodney, as I mentioned, Alabama has had 4 players selected in the first round of the NFL draft 5 times in the past 10 years, 2020, 2018, 2017, 2012, and 2011. As I mentioned, Miami holds the first-round record with 6 first-rounders back in 2004, including the late, great Sean Taylor. Now, Rodney, the question I have for you, is this the year that Alabama gets 5, maybe even 6 to tie Miami, or possibly even 7 to break the all-time record?
Well, the over and under is what, 5.5?
5.5.
Yeah, I went 5, Gary. So I'll stick with that. Again, I'd love to see them break that record or at least tie it, Miami's record. But if I had to bet, I would say the under.
All right, I'm going to go ahead, and I think, at the end of the day, I feel strongly that you're right, but I want to be contrarian. I'm going to go 6. I'm going to say you get those 4 locks that I mentioned, plus Najee, plus Barmore. That would put Alabama at 6. I tell you what, though, as always, draft night is going to be must-watch TV for Alabama fans on Thursday night. Now, out of all the possible first-rounders, Rodney, who do you think will be the first Alabama player selected from the group?
Well, you know what, Gary? Listen, based on everything we hear, it sounds like Mac Jones at number 3 to the 49ers might be the most likely to go the highest. We'll see what happens. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about Patrick Surtain sliding up the board a little bit and possibly being the first guy. But, I think Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, certainly both probably in the top 12, maybe higher. So we could have, 3 or 4 Alabama guys go in the top 15 again.
I'm with you on Mac Jones. I've said all along that when the 49ers traded up 2 first-rounders to get to number 3, I feel like they did it to take Mac Jones. In fact, my producer at my radio show, Jacob Harrison on Tide 100.9 FM, and I have a stake bet. He says Justin Fields is going to the 49ers. I say it's going to be Mac Jones. If they take Trey Lance, I guess we'll just cancel out the bet. But I believe Mac Jones is going number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers, and will get to play for Kyle Shanahan, who is a quarterback guru, much like the guy he just played for, Steve Sarkisian. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mac Jones. Also, Rodney, Alabama has an opportunity for the 2nd straight year, and not just an opportunity, it's going to happen. This has never happened before, for one team to have 2 first-round receivers in back-to-back drafts. Of course, Judy and Ruggs last year. This year it's going to be Smith and Waddle. For a school that used to be known as a run-first school, I guess that's quite a testament to the way that Nick Saban has evolved and turned this offensive philosophy into a wide-open passing attack.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, Gary, when you look at these guys, again, and that 2017 class produced 3 of those guys. You're talking about Judy, Ruggs, and Devontae Smith. And, of course, the following year, Jalen Waddle came in. So all 4 of those guys, first-rounders, pretty incredible, and they've had some pretty good quarterbacks to work with as well.
As I said, going to be a lot of fun on Thursday night. And then on Friday as well. I said, if Dickerson doesn't go in the first round or Barmore, you've also got Deontay Brown waiting in the wings. Hopefully Miller Forrestall gets drafted. Who knows, maybe Thomas Fletcher. So day 2 and day 3 could be interesting as well. All right, Landon Dickerson, the 2020 Remington Award winner, is expected to be one of the first centers taken in the draft. And now you can be with him virtually when he gets drafted, unless he goes in the first round, because the former Alabama center is hosting a virtual draft party so that fans can be in his living room with him for the big day. Tickets, though, for that event can be found at ldickersonsdraftparty.com. Problem is, it's for Friday night. So if he gets drafted on Thursday in the first round, Rodney, I guess he'll just have to show up and party with fans for being a first rounder on Thursday night. But again, check it out and get on board with Landon Dickerson for his watch party. Well, now it's time for Coach Talk. The transfer portal has been a hot button issue since it started up. But if there's one person who isn't that concerned about it, it's, you guessed it, Alabama head coach Nick Saban. Here's why.
Most guys that have left here call back 100 times wanting to come back. All right, so I don't think, because we do such a good job academically with our guys' career development program, we've done a really good job and have a good track record of graduating players, developing guys to play at the next level. So I don't think our good players are going to be leaving, but I think we'll be able to get some good players to join us when we have room to do that.
Yeah, I like that philosophy. He's right, too. Why would you ever want to leave Alabama? But some people do. Yeah, according to Matt Zenitz, he was the first to report that senior defensive back Ronald Williams, number 22, has entered the NCAA transfer portal. 2020 was his only season at the Capstone. He missed the early portion of the year due to an arm injury, but returned against Mississippi State and won 1 tackle in the game. Williams also played in the Bama games against Kentucky and Arkansas, but did not record any stats in either game. All right, Rodney, let's get back to Saban's comments in regards to the transfer portal. And I don't think that he's trying to be arrogant or cocky there. I just think he's stating a fact. First of all, we've talked about it in the recruiting process. If Nick Saban offers you a scholarship, it's going to be very difficult to say no. Then once you get to Alabama, if you if you don't play early, if you do play early, great. But if you don't, if you're just patient and wait your opportunity, usually it's going to work out for you. And you're not going to get a better total package in college football, from on the field to a community that loves its football, to the support staff, to the academics, all of the things that are in place to be successful, Rod. And that's why Nick Saban just said it. Not that concerned about the portal.
Well, I think the track record's there, Gary, the proof. And I think a lot of these guys that you bring in, very smart, buy into the program. They understand what it takes to play here. And a lot of them are, it is amazing, though. We've talked about this for many years, how Nick Saban gets these players, 5-star players, 4-star players, very highly recruited players, to buy in to the wait, to be developed when their opportunity comes, and all of those things. Because, listen, that's really difficult. Not many places can get their players to do that, but Alabama has. But they've shown, I mean, we've seen guys like Eddie Lacy. I mean, he's a guy that waited behind Mark Ingram, waited behind Trent Richardson. Then at the tail end of his career, he had a magnificent finish. Najee Harris, same way. I mean, he had a magnificent finish. Reuben Foster, he was a guy that really, first couple of years, you wondered, is Reuben going to live up to the hype? And then the last 2 years, he did it. So, again, there's a lot of examples that Nick Saban can use to show these players, hey, look, just wait it out. Your time's going to come, and you'll be glad you waited.
Yeah, more recently, Kristen Barmore and Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones may be the best one of all. Yeah,
that's for sure. Well, former Alabama linebacker Ben Davis announced on Monday that he'll be joining the Texas Longhorns for his 6th year of eligibility. He'll join Steve Sarkisian, who will be in his first year as head coach of the Longhorns this fall. West Alabama native, Davis played for Gordo High School and was a 5-star recruit in the 2016 cycle. He recorded 7 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 pass breakup as a member of the Crimson Tide. And he was the nation's #1 inside linebacker, #10 overall prospect in 2016, recruited by Bo Davis, who's now the defensive line coach at Texas. Spent his entire career as a reserve, Rodney. But, I say good for Ben. He got a degree from here. He was here for 5 years. He goes to a coaching staff. He's very familiar with a number of those guys. And, let's be honest, he's got a much better opportunity to get on the field at Texas than he would if he stayed here for a 6th year when you got the likes of Chris Allen and Will Anderson ahead of you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of young players too, Gary. And again, I think sometimes it's good thing for a fresh start. I think it'd be good for Ben. I mean, first of all, he's a great kid. He's an area product there at Gordo. Had a fantastic high school career. You mentioned all his credentials when he came into Alabama, and probably maybe didn't play as much as he expected. But, you know, those things happen. And, Gary, there were a lot of injuries that he had early in his career that kind of set him back. So, with that said, certainly hope he has the best of luck there at the University of Texas.
No doubt about it. We wish him the best, that's for sure. Well, still to come on TITV, there's a new SEC Pitcher of the Week in softball, and most of you know who she is. She's right here in Tuscaloosa. And the men's golf team put in some work to make a run at the SEC Championship. Those results when we return. And coming up, as always, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The phone number, as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. You can email us at the address on your screen or even tweet at us by using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with a show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tider Insider TV. Bama's Montana Fouts is the SEC Softball Pitcher of the Week for the third time this season. In 3 games last week, she pitched a complete game win and 2 saves. In Saturday's start against Louisiana, 11 strikeouts. She's just been phenomenal now. She's struck out at least 10 in 6 straight starts. And maybe they'll just rename it the SEC Montana Fouts Pitcher of the Week Award. So Alabama goes back into SEC play this weekend at Georgia. Game 1 in Athens on Friday at 5 p.m. Welcome back into TITV. I'm Gary Harris, sitting across the studio from TiderInsider.com's Rodney Orr. Alabama softball had a strong weekend, but baseball started fast but faded over the weekend. Alabama headed to Lexington, Kentucky for a 3-game series with the Wildcats on Friday night. It was great. It was all Bama, 10-1 in that game. But then they got rained out on Saturday, which I really think threw them into a little bit of a had to sit around in Lexington all day, then had to go out and play a doubleheader on Sunday, 2 7-inning games, and they got wrapped around pretty well. So with that 1-2 record over the weekend, Alabama's now 24-15 on the season, but 8-10 in the SEC with 12 conference games remaining, 4 SEC series. Rodney, Alabama, a little, right around a month till the SEC tournament at 8-10. They're in good shape right now, not just for the SEC tournament, but an NCAA regional. And clearly, they want to, rack up some more wins. Got it to 8-8 with that win on Friday, then lost those 2 games on Sunday. But they're in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, they're playing a lot better. What have they won? 7 of the last 10, Gary, I think, overall. So, they're playing a lot better. And I'm with you. I think that no excuses. I mean, Kentucky won those 2 games, but sometimes that rhythm gets disrupted. I think they played really well Friday night, and then, on Saturday with the rain out, that's a tough deal. But you have to make that adjustment.
Yeah, it's tougher when you're on the road because all you're able to do is sit around the hotel. For Kentucky, they're at home. It's not nearly as big a deal. But you're right. You still had to go out and play Sunday, and they didn't play well. Just hoping this pitching staff can get healthy. That would really, really help them out. Well, after strong showing in the SEC quarterfinals, Alabama men's golf fell to Vanderbilt Sunday morning in the championship semifinals over at Sea Island, Georgia. Crimson Tide reached the semifinal round for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Now, Vanderbilt played really well in the semis, but still, Alabama, which had not had the kind of season it had hoped for, has a strong showing in the SEC, and now they'll focus on regional play coming up in May. Well, still to come on TITV, ideas floated around Alabama athletics on how to honor superfan Luke Ratliff. But formal plans have now been announced. What those plans are, we'll tell you next. And also, we'll be welcoming your phone calls and emails. Again, the phone number 205-348-9882, 205-348-9882, TITV. We'll be right back after this. Well, through the Crimson Tide Foundation, the Luke Fluffopotamus Ratliff Memorial Gift Fund has been created. The fund is designed to assist the future presidents of Crimson Chaos, specifically the leader of the men's basketball student section, with travel expenses to road events, as well as merchandise for students and promotional giveaways. The newly elected president of Crimson Chaos will also be presented a plaid jacket as part of the Tide Tip-Off preseason banquet event to wear at games, as Ratliff did. Additionally, a plaque will be affixed on the seat he continually occupied in Coleman Coliseum, and that seat will be reserved for the sitting president. I really think that's nice. Welcome back into TITV. We're about to get to your phone calls. So first, though, I do want to mention that today is the 10-year anniversary of the devastating tornado that blew through Tuscaloosa and really the state of Alabama. April 27th, 2011. Coach Saban spoke on that today. Just a quick thought, Rodney. Any of us that lived here and lived through it remember how devastating it was, but I really think that this community, this university, this state came out stronger on the other side.
Really did. You know, Gary, it seems like yesterday almost. You know, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but I never forget, you know, where we were and coming back to this side of town or to the other side of town, South Tuscaloosa, and seeing all the destruction. I mean, it was, you couldn't believe it. I mean, of course, we had no idea the magnitude of it at the time, and then when we see the destruction, it was incredible.
Tuscaloosa strong, and Nick Saban and that football program and all the sports teams here played a big role in the recovery of Tuscaloosa. All right, let's get out to the phone lines. First up tonight is John down in Cordova. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing good. My question tonight is in the 8A game from last week. From all the quarterbacks that played, which one do you think did better?
All right, thank you, John. And I'll just hand that over to you, Rodney. I know you were watching him closely. Of course, Jalen Milroe, the outstanding true freshman, we didn't get to see. We only saw 3 quarterbacks in the game. Of course, Bryce Young, who we assume is going to be the starter, Paul Tyson, who's battling Milroe for the backup job, and then Braxton Barker, the walk-on, the son of Jay Barker. But all 3 of the quarterbacks had their moments, Rob, but certainly Bryce Young was the MVP of the game. So let's start with him.
Well, I think, you know, you look at him, Gary, and all these quarterbacks, they just don't have a lot of experience. I mean, last spring was canceled, so they didn't have those opportunities. I know for Bryce Young, for example, in fall camp, he was sick, missed 10, 12 days. That certainly hampered his development. He missed a couple of scrimmages. I think he went into last season with only 1 scrimmage. So this spring was really big for him. To get those reps that he needed. Paul Tyson as well, his development. And I think when you look at Bryce Young, I thought he did a fantastic job in the scrimmage. He made some mistakes, yeah, but those are things that he's going to learn from over the summer. You look at Paul Tyson, I think since we saw him a couple of springs ago, he's come a long way. And again, I know he's got some things that he wants to, you know, continue to polish up, but I think, you know, he showed some really good decision-making, made some throws down the field, made some nice throws to Ajay Hall. And you mentioned Braxton Barker. I thought he obviously made the one big throw to Ajay Hall. He certainly made some improvement. Really wish we would have gotten to see Jalen Milroe. Have heard a lot of buzz about him, but hopefully we'll see him in the August camp.
All right, let's get to an email question. This is from Danny in Tuscaloosa. Any news on the health status of Malachi Moore, the outstanding freshman defensive back from a year ago who is going to be a sophomore?
Yeah, well, you know, Gary, I don't think we've heard anything in terms of officially when he's expected back, but I think he'll be fine for August camp. I think it was more precautionary measure to keep him out this spring, so hopefully he'll be back in August.
Indeed, hope so, because he is a really good player. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, track and field saw some Alabama school records getting set over the weekend. More coming up on that, and more phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the phone number 205-348-9882. We'll be right back to Tuscaloosa for Tider Insider TV after this. Alabama track and field had a big weekend at a couple of meets in Arkansas and Louisiana. Mercy Schelling she's awesome. She destroyed the previous 5,000-meter record by 35 seconds. Tamara Clark posted the top collegiate time in the nation in the 100 meters, earning Clark USTFCCCA National Athlete of the Week, as well as the SEC Women's Runner of the Week. Finally, the Tide's Robert Dunning won the 110-meter hurdles and improved a 2017 school record by 0.2 of a second. All right, the phone lines are open, interestingly enough. This is unusual, 205-348-9882, 205-348-9882. You can get through right now. In the meantime, let's get to an email question, and this is from Terry in Dallas, Texas, close to where Kamar Wheaton is from, so I understand why you'd be interested. When is Kamar Wheaton scheduled to arrive in Tuscaloosa and be on campus, the outstanding freshman running back, Rodney?
Yeah, Gary, I think he'll report when all the others that didn't enroll early, when they come in late May, right after graduation, early June. Now listen, some schools, I'm not really sure what his school is in terms of their graduation date. Some don't graduate until the second week in June, but I would expect Kamar Wheaton would be here no later than early June.
Of course, that sets us up for the next question. Alabama's loaded at the running back position. He'll be a true freshman. Do you think he can factor in for some early playing time?
Well, that'll be really tough. When you look at that room, Gary, that they have, and then you say, well, maybe he could return some kickoffs, but look, they have a lot of experienced guys that have been around a while. Now, he's got a different level of speed, I can tell you that. Eventually, when he gets his opportunity, I think he's going to be a guy that's got a chance to be really, really good because of that speed. Yeah,
he'll add to an already stacked position at running back here at the University of Alabama. Are we going to try to get to a phone call? All right, let's go ahead then and take our break. Still to come, as we mentioned, today is the 10-year anniversary of the devastating tornado that came through Tuscaloosa in 2011. We'll share how WVOA 23 is remembering that dreadful day. Coming up on what is a night where we are not expecting any tornadoes this year, thank goodness. We'll be back after this.
I think when that happened, I think it helped everybody from Coach Saban on down to really realize some perspective and to think about, football is really important, but there are things that are much more important. And so I think in some ways that perspective helped us play well that year.
As we alluded to earlier, today is the 10-year anniversary of the April 27 tornadoes that destroyed parts of Tuscaloosa and the surrounding communities. In the days after the tornado, the Crimson Tide football team, including one of the captains, Barrett Jones, and his teammates helped clean up debris and rebuild the community. His story is one of many that will be featured in WVOA 23's hour-long special, Faces of the Storm 10 Years Later. That's going to air immediately after TITV right here at 7 p.m. on WVOA 23, so you do not want to hit that remote. You want to stay right here for this special Faces of the Storm 10 years after, coming up right after TITV. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. We're so glad that you can join us. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's program, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 after the news at 10, or online anytime at WVOA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. We'll say goodnight, and we'll leave you with some video today from a special Denny Chimes bell ceremony from 5:30 this evening, commemorating and remembering the victims of the tornado 10 years ago.